Welcome back to Movies TV Mad. You can follow me on Twitter at Movies TV Mad, and welcome to Monday's edition of the DC Daily. Last week, Rolling Stone magazine made yet more allegations against Flash actor Ezra Miller. This time they alleged that Miller in one of his homes was housing a single mother of 3 children. In this home of Ezra Miller, they alleged it was surrounded with firearms, and one of the single mother's children, a 1-year-old child, put a bullet in its mouth. Right? Now, since this article, the police have allegedly checked Miller's home and have found nothing. If I had read an article making these accusations about me and my home, I'd be clearing out my home to make sure when the police come and check things out, which obviously they would find nothing. Since these allegations, the mother of these 3 children has claimed that she's a battered wife, and Ezra Miller is a real paragon of virtue and saved her life, put her up, and saved her children, and is protecting her and her children. Now, of course, Ezra Miller has still been arrested twice in Hawaii for aggressive behavior, throwing a chair on a temple of a woman, cutting her temple, breaking into a couple's home, threatening them, stealing from their home. So there's those 2 things. Ezra Miller is still accused by parents of an 18-year-old girl. When she was 12 years old, he groomed her and he gave her alcohol and drugs. What would be the motivation for a person accused of grooming to house a single mother and 3 children? I can't guess. So let's not try and award Ezra Miller the Nobel Peace Prize. This is a very, very bad person. But of course, Warner Brothers Pictures are desperate to release this movie starring Miller. The Flash movie, which is so important, it's not just about money. It resets the dceu. And they will do anything to save this hobbling, struggling franchise. They will do anything and they will say anything. But you see, the public and the consumer will only trust you so far. You released a Man of Steel movie, I love, that the mainstream audience didn't embrace. You released Batman vs. Superman Dawn of Justice, which I loved, but the mainstream audience didn't embrace. They released the first Suicide Squad movie, a movie that I love, but the mainstream audience didn't embrace. They released Wonder Woman 2017, one of my favourite CBMs of all time. The mainstream audience loved it. Then they had a Justice League movie. They built on the bones of the original director's vision, and they did something terrible, ridiculous accusations of bullying, this, that, tampering with a man's vision. Justice League was a disaster. So you keep on taking liberties with the trust of your audience. Aquaman, a great success, a film that I absolutely loved. The mainstream audience loved it. Shazam made a little bit of money, not very much, but it did make a profit because of its low budget. If it had a higher budget, that film would have been a flop, but families and children loved it. Wonder Woman 84 is a disastrous movie that the audience were actually making fun of. Then there's Birds of Prey and the Fantabulous Emancipation of One Harley Quinn, a flop. James Gunn's The Suicide Squad was loved by the audience that saw it. It flopped in movie theatres, did great on HBO Max. Peacemaker was a great success for James Gunn as well. So that's your DCEU. A platform, a franchise with very little consumer confidence or loyalty. Something that new Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav, CEO, has said himself. So this is not something new. They have got so many problems within this franchise. But here's a question for you while we're talking about James Gunn and his 2 DC movies and series, The Suicide Squad and Peacemaker. If they do delete the DCEU, would it be a good thing to separate James Gunn's DC content? Would it be a better idea just to say, you know what, that's your stuff on streaming, it works, it's great, you're nothing to do with the new central universe. What I'm saying is, if they do delete the DCEU, it doesn't mean you have to delete everything about it. You can have the Snyderverse in a pocket universe. You can have James Gunn's DC characters and Suicide Squad universe doing something else on its own, self-contained. Because it's clear, I think, that David Zaslav has faith in James Gunn. I'm not sure. No reports to the contrary have come out anyway. So while this Ezra Miller situation runs and runs and runs, we need a distraction. So here it is. DC's new Batgirl and Supergirl actors team up off the clock in cute image. The DC Extended Universe's Batgirl Leslie Grace and The Flash's Supergirl Sasha Calle hang up their capes and unite in a fun photo by Josh Planisi of Screen Rant. Warner Brothers and DC Films' Batgirl Leslie Grace shares a photo of herself with the new Supergirl Sasha Calle. Adi El Arbi and Billy Fowler's Bad Boys for Life Batgirl is set to star Grace as one of Gotham City's fiercest vigilantes, Barbara Gordon, aka Batgirl. Following several small screen portrayals and Alicia Silverstone's turn in the role for Batman and Robin, Batgirl will mark the first ever live-action movie focusing solely on the daughter of Commissioner Jim Gordon. Before or after that film hits HBO Max, Andres Muschietti, The Flash will feature the big screen debut of another superheroine in Sasha Calle's Kryptonian cousin of Superman, Supergirl. A film that uses this character to replace the most successful first superhero ever, Superman. Let's not forget that. The Flash will follow Ezra Miller's Barry Allen as he travels through time to try and prevent the murder of his mother, which results in the creation of the DC Extended Universe's multiverse, featuring multiple versions of the Flash as well as Supergirl and Michael Keaton's Batman. The film's time travel antics will presumably create a new main DCEU timeline, that is correct, benching Ben Affleck's Caped Crusader in favour of Keaton, who will, with the help of J.K. Simmons, Commissioner Jim Gordon, is poised to serve as a mentor to Barbara in Batgirl. Now the multiverse's newest heroes have teamed up off the clock. Batgirl Grace recently took to Twitter to share a photo of herself with the Flash's Supergirl. Calle, the image shows the pair enjoying what is likely a much needed break from Caped Crusading. Check it out below. Oh yeah, because when was the last time they did any Caped Crusading? Leslie Grace's Batgirl finished shooting months ago, and the Flash movie finished shooting last year. Yes, exactly. So here it is. This is them together. Ain't that cute? Makes you forget that the DCEU is an absolute clusterfuck, right? These girls just haven't randomly turned up for coffee. WB Pictures and Toby Emmerich have desperately been looking for another distraction against, away from the Flash and Ezra Miller. Of course, to any intelligent consumer like you and I, this isn't going to work. The above caption could very well be true, as Grace and Calle represent the future of the DCEU. So what did they say? We are saving all the universe, you heard me. Yeah, isn't that cool? I'm sure all the young girls are loving that, right? Anyway, so Grace and Calle represent the future of the DCEU. The DCEU, my friends, doesn't have a future. Following Justice League, they even call it Justice League, and despite the success of Zack Snyder's Justice League, WB/DC Films began to distance itself from the Snyderverse and rework its universe with projects like the Suicide Squad, Peacemaker, and the upcoming Black Adam. The Flash might officially shelve that timeline by introducing Keaton, Calle, and using archive footage of Henry Cavill. Which they do. I've seen the Flash movie. That's what they do. Sasha Calle's Supergirl, no hate towards Sasha, she's great in the movie, she replaces Superman. All you see of Henry Cavill is old stock Man of Steel footage. For me, that's disgusting. And any reasonable, passionate DC fan will be disgusted as well. Unless you're a shill and you don't really care. That's my opinion. Henry Cavill to bid farewell to his Man of Steel, while Miller is likely meant to play a huge role in the future of the DCEU. Just imagine they thought Ezra Miller, a mentally damaged person, was going to be able to lead the DCEU, do all the interviews and marketing. My God, they don't even know where he is right now. An absolute disaster. And they're using two girls and meeting for a coffee morning to distract us from this. It's not going to work. Recent events have undoubtedly shifted the focus to new characters like Batgirl and Supergirl. Wow. With Affleck and Cavill hanging up their capes and Robert Pattinson's Batman existing in a pocket universe, rumours suggest Batgirl and Supergirl could replace Batman and Superman. Just imagine that. This is fucking true, of course, respectively as members of a new Justice League. However, The Flash is being delayed to 2023, not to mention the issue that now surround the film may impact the supposed 2022 release of Batgirl. Right, Batgirl, we'll talk about this yet again, I know it's boring, doesn't have an official release date. And the future of the DCEU regardless, Grace and Calais have no doubt already discussed a potential on-the-clock team-up following their debuts. Debuts that you, the public, haven't seen. Imagine this. What would you rather see? If you had heard Ben Affleck and Henry Cavill met for a coffee, how would you feel? You'd be fucking excited. You'd be thinking they're hinting to the return of Cavill and Batfleck full-time in the DCEU. I'd be excited and you'd be excited. Now compare that to Sasha Calais and Leslie Grace meeting for a coffee morning. The excitement level goes down to the floor. It's not going to work. And let me tell you why. Compare this to the Miss Marvel actress and Brie Larson meeting for coffee. People would be excited. It would be trending in its fucking millions. Nobody, the general audience, don't give a shit about these two girls playing Supergirl and Batgirl. The hype level is no longer there for the DCEU. There was hype pre-Man of Steel. There was hype when they were building up and marketing BVS. But slowly but surely, as liberties have been taken about the, around this amazing DC universe with these amazing characters, people have become bored and disinterested. And showing these two girls having a coffee is irrelevant. Of course, they're so desperate, they will do anything. They want to have this kind of idea that the future of the DCEU and the Hamadaverse is coming. They're testing you. They want to see how excited and how in favour you are of this. Of course, you are not. And these distractions will not work, everyone. Because that's what they are. Desperate distractions. The DCEU is on the fucking floor. Have no doubt. I've already blocked the Flash film news for defending Ezra Miller time and time again, because I just don't care. I'm not having it. This is a ridiculous situation. My beloved DC characters are being shut upon. Supergirl and Batgirl replacing Batman and Superman when those brilliant young characters should be standing beside their forefathers. But we know today's industry and not about that. Supporting women, right? Believe all women, right? This is the movement running entertainment today. This isn't going to work. It's time, David Zaslav, to bin this hobbling failure of an experiment and start again. And finally today, on Monday's edition of the DC Daily, DC's Blue Beetle movie wraps filming with main villain actress. Now this is very, very curious, everyone. I'm very suspicious about how much this film is actually shooting. I suspect Blue Beetle secretly has been put on hold. But this is interesting. Due to the Warner Brothers Discovery merger and issues surrounding The Flash, the future of the DCEU as a whole is a bit uncertain these days. But in addition to Dwayne Johnson's Black Adam, optimism is high for DC's 2023 film Blue Beetle, starring Cobra Kai Xolo Maridueña as Jamie Reyes. Now, let me just get something clear. We have seen a lot of MCU actors and DCEU actors do other stuff. So Xolo may be very, very popular in the Karate Kid sequel. It doesn't mean he'll be popular in this, but hopefully he will be, because it's DC and I want it to do well. Let's see what happens. And now that filming is well underway, production just crossed a milestone with Blue Beetle's villain. Directed by Angel Manuel Soto, Blue Beetle is expected to follow the teenage character of Jamie Reyes as he receives powers from a sacred scarab. In addition to Maridueña as Reyes, the DC film also stars George Lopez, Bruna Marquezine, Belissa, I'm not going to read these names actually, can't read them, and Susan Sarandon. While much of the film's plot remains under wraps, one Blue Beetle star confirmed that filming wrapped for at least one of its integral characters. Actress Susan Sarandon has shared on Instagram that she has finished filming her role as Blue Beetle's mysterious villain, Victoria Cold, a character made up for this movie because we don't want Ted Cold, do we, an original OG Blue Beetle, because he's a man, so we have to swap him with a woman. How brave and powerful. The character of Victoria Cold was reportedly created just for DC's Blue Beetle film. Sarandon's Instagram caption reads as follows, and that's a wrap on Victoria Cold. In April, Sarandon was confirmed to have joined the project as Blue Beetle's primary antagonist before Sarandon and Sharon Stone had been in talks for the role. Who is Blue Beetle's main villain? Even though Sarandon's Victoria Cold isn't from the comics, her character shares the same last name as the second Blue Beetle, Ted Cold. Due to this connection and the fact that Jamie Reyes is the third Blue Beetle, DC fans have been speculating about the character's potential ties to the character of Ted Cold, as well as his potential role or influence. Fans have also heard that Victoria Cold isn't the only villain Blue Beetle's Jamie Reyes will be dealing with. It's expected that the film will include Carapax, the indestructible man who also has comic book ties to Ted Cold. Since Blue Beetle began filming in Atlanta, fans have already caught a glimpse of the hero's impressive looking blue suit. Yeah, we've seen pictures of the costume, but we've seen the cast sitting down in a lot of coffee shops, which is very curious. As production marches on, more information is sure to be revealed, and perhaps fans will learn a bit more about the film's villainous duo. Blue Beetle is set to debut in theatres on August the 18th, 2023. So, what can we work out from this? I think this film has only been shooting for just over a month. Am I correct about that? So how has Susan Sarandon's Victoria Cold already wrapped filming? It doesn't make sense, does it? This tells me that Susan Sarandon is a glorified cameo in this film and Victoria Cold isn't a main player. I would suspect that Ted Cold actually plays a bigger role than she does, so I don't know what happens here and what happens to her. I suspect she gets killed in the movie and that is kind of the motivation of her role in the movie, because there's no way she's the main villain if she's already wrapped production. So it's very, very curious. I'm a big Blue Beetle fan. I loved him in Smallville. That's my introduction to Blue Beetle, and I read a lot about Blue Beetle in the comics after I saw him. It was in the Booster Gold episode of Smallville. That's right. My memory's straight now. So there's a lot of potential in a Blue Beetle movie. For me personally, if they've connected this movie to the DCEU, if this is part of the DCEU, I would have halted production. I would have stayed on location. I would have done some rewrites and reintroduced Blue Beetle as the introduction to a brand new mainstream DC Extended Universe. The first movie, the introduction of a brand new franchise. That's what they should be doing. Because if they are trying to hobble on and continue this dying, hobbling franchise, they will fail. The Blue Beetle director already had a picture of Sasha Calle's Supergirl, Batgirl, Leslie Grace's Batgirl, and his very own Blue Beetle writing Young Justice at the bottom. So it's clear they are stubbornly trying to force through this new DCEU status quo set up by Walter Hamada's multiverse strategy. Can it work? Of course it can. If it's been made well, even with the deletion of Batfleck and Superman, there's a way round all of this if they've done a good job. And I don't know what kind of film Blue Beetle is. Hopefully I get to see a test screening when production is complete, because I'm very intrigued by it. It seems very weird to me. On one side of the studio, incoming CEO of Warner Brothers Discovery, the newly formed Warner Brothers Discovery, David Zaslav is going around taking advice from some very elite figures. He's looking for a president of DC Studios. And he's already told Toby Emmerich that he's not happy with the DCEU, it hasn't made enough money, it's a bad franchise. That doesn't sound like a franchise that has much of a future to it. On the other side, at WB Pictures and from Toby Emmerich, they are pushing propaganda after propaganda, positive propaganda, to convince you to stay with the DCEU, because even if this franchise is being deleted, they want Batgirl, Aquaman and the Lost Kingdom, the Flash movie, Black Adam and Shazam Fury of the Gods to make money before they take the decision on the future. But here's the thing, these films don't have the potential to make the money that they want. And now they have the controversy surrounding Ezra Miller, and a single mother saying he's a born-again superhero isn't going to cut it. What you need to do as fans, it depends what your agenda is. If you want these 5 upcoming movies to be successful and you want to celebrate them, good luck to you. But it's easy really, isn't it? When you see this positive fake propaganda, you've got to ignore it. And you've got to stop subscribing to the platforms who are defending Ezra Miller, a person accused of grooming, giving drugs and alcohol to a minor, arrested twice in Hawaii for aggressive, aggravated violence. That's not a person to support. And by not firing him, WB Discovery are saying that they agree with Ezra Miller's actions, that they think that someone who gives alcohol and drugs to a minor, allegedly, is a good thing, right? I mean, it wouldn't surprise me, that's Hollywood. It's what Hollywood are famous for, right? Oh, the things I know. So it depends. Do you want to support a DC movie with a person like this in it? Because I don't. But it's beyond that. As I say, the DCEU is dead. And as soon as we accept that, but especially more importantly, as soon as WB accept it's dead and they need to start again, and they need to start again as soon as possible with a new head of a DC Studios, we are not going to move on. This is like Groundhog Day. Every day it's the same thing. More accusations about Miller, more propaganda from Emmerich and one side of the studio. David Zaslav, you need to get a move on. You need to reset this studio and DC live action, because the more you stay silent, the worse it is. Because they were very happy to make announcements about the don't say gay thing, was it in California, and things like that. But Ezra Miller, arrested twice in Hawaii, accused of grooming and giving a minor drugs and alcohol, you have made no announcements. No business stays silent on something so dangerous and important. You haven't come out to defend him publicly, and you haven't come out to say that you will not tolerate this behavior from one of your employees. Why? Because you are in trouble. You are in trouble with your franchise, and you're hoping beyond all hope you can make the Flash movie and the other companion movies around it successful. You can't. It's time to make big, brave decisions. And if these decisions lead to you losing money, so be it. Because your temporary financial status quo isn't important. If you get this right, David Zaslav, and reset a DC Studios with a brand new central universe, and it's successful, you will make money. So for the now, you need to lose money to make money in the future. But you people are so greedy, and you don't look at the long game. Kevin Feige told us this week that he has planned out the future of the MCU 10 fucking years in advance. Because Walter Hamada, may have this plan, this multiverse strategy, but I can tell you it's not a fully fleshed out plan. WB and DC is full of incompetent fools. It has been from the very beginning. The only reason they brought in Christopher Nolan to godfather the DCEU and Man of Steel is because he was a trend, and he had made 3 successful Batman movies via the Dark Knight trilogy. That's the only reason he got in. Now, once he was making decision after decision, bringing in Snyder, etc., they didn't like those decisions, but they thought, hey, he knows what he's doing. He'll put the magic wand, izzy wizzy, let's get busy, da 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 da, and everything will be all right. But everything isn't all right, because from that moment, after Man of Steel didn't make the money they wanted, they got rid of Nolan and his writer, David Goyer, and changed directions with Zack Snyder and Batman vs Superman. Let's throw in Batman with Superman in a movie. It's going to make a couple of billion, right? Because you allowed an auteur to make one of the most expensive independent movies of all time. A movie, I'll repeatedly say again for those pie eaters not listening at the back, that I really love. But commercially and for the mainstream general audience, the DCEU hasn't worked. So much damage has been put on this franchise, it cannot be saved. This has been the DC Daily here on Movies TV Mad with me, Mick, your host with the most. Just ask your girlfriends and your wives. Please like, share, comment, subscribe. Hit the notification bell so you never miss this beautiful perfection. And I'll see you for Tuesday's DC Daily. Until I see you again, goodbye, au revoir, auf Wiedersehen.